Stop nodding your head. Stop taking notes. Stop pretending you're here to learn when you're really here to hide. Yes, I'm talking to you. The one who drove here in a car you hate, to earn money you don't enjoy, to pay for things you don't need, to impress people you don't even like. You've turned your life into a transaction. Your purpose into a paycheck. Your passion into a pension plan. You're not building a legacy. You're building a prison. And the worst part, every morning, millions of people wake up and put on their servant's uniform, whether it's a suit and tie or a worker's vest, and march off to build someone else's dream. They call it responsibility. They call it security. They call it being practical. I call it voluntary slavery. You're not just selling your time. You're selling your soul on an installment plan. You've been living in the prison of your own making. And today, right here, right now, I'm handing you the key to your freedom. Look at your hands. Those same hands that you use to scroll through social media for hours, watching other people live their dreams while yours collect dust. Those same hands that type out excuses in message after message about why you can't attend that course, start that business, or write that book. Those same hands that could be building your empire, but instead are comfortable holding on to the scraps that life throws your way. Because who told you to settle for scraps when there's a feast waiting for you? Every morning, millions wake up to serve someone else's dream. They punch in their time cards, sit in their cubicles, and count down the hours until they can escape. They call it being responsible. I call it voluntary imprisonment. You see, there's a fundamental difference between a king and a servant. A king doesn't ask permission to be great. A king doesn't wait for someone else to approve their dreams. That later you might shake you. Your life right now, every single aspect of it is a direct result of how you view yourself. If you see yourself as a servant, you live like one. You'll wait for instructions. You'll seek approval. You'll fear taking up space. You'll apologize for your ambitions. But if you see yourself as a king or queen, everything changes. When was the last time you made a decision that scared you? When was the last time you looked in the mirror and saw royalty staring back at you? When was the last time you refused to shrink yourself to make others comfortable? You're sitting there right now, and something inside you is stirring. Something is telling you that you are meant for more than this daily grind, this endless cycle of merely existing instead of truly living. That's stirring. That's your royal blood. But here's what most people won't tell you about ruling your life. It's not about the crown, the throne, or the palace. It's about the mindset. It's about understanding that every single day you make choices that either reinforce your servitude or assert your sovereignty. When you wake up in the morning, do you immediately check your phone to see what others need from you? That's servant behavior. A king wakes up and first connects with their vision, their purpose, their divine assignments. Let me break this down for you in a way that will change how you see everything from this moment forward. In every situation, in every relationship, in every transaction, you're either operating from a position of power or a position of weakness. There is no middle ground. When you're at work, are you just doing enough to keep your job? Or are you creating so much value that your absence will be felt throughout the organization? When you're in your relationships, are you constantly seeking validation? Or are you showing up as someone who adds richness to others' lives? The servant mentality says, I hope they like me. The king mentality says, I hope they're ready for the value I bring. The servant mentality says, I can't afford that investment in myself. The king mentality says, I can't afford not to invest in my growth. The servant mentality says, what if I fail? The king mentality says, what if I succeed beyond my wildest dreams? And let me tell you about the most dangerous prison of all. The prison of other people's expectations. Society has programmed you to believe that playing small is being humble. That denying your greatness is being modest. That waiting your turn is being patient. Who told you that your turn would ever come if you didn't create it for yourself? You're waiting for someone to give you permission to live your best life. You're waiting for the perfect moment to start that business. You're waiting for someone to validate your dreams. And while you're waiting, life is passing you by. Do you think a king waits for permission? Do you think a queen asks? Right now, someone in this room is thinking, but I don't have the resources to live like a king. Let me correct that thinking right now. Kings don't become kings because they have resources. They have resources because they think and act like. You're worried about the cost of starting that business. What's the cost of never trying? You're concerned about what people will say if you step into your greatness. What are they saying about your mediocrity right now? That's what he wants to tell you is this. The world doesn't care about your potential. The world doesn't care about your dreams. The world doesn't care about what you could be. The world only responds to what you're being right now, in this moment. So let me ask you, who are you being right now? Are you being someone who makes excuses or someone who makes progress? Are you being someone who waits for opportunities or someone who creates them? Are you being someone who lives in fear of judgment or someone who lives in pursuit of greatness? Your answer to these questions determines whether you're living like a king or dying like a servant. Watching people with royal destinies living with a slave mentality. You were born to rule your life, yet you're begging for crumbs of opportunity. You were designed to create, yet you're sitting there consuming everyone else's creation. You were meant to lead, yet you're following trends that lead nowhere. Trying to know what the difference is between the person who serves their destiny and the person who serves their fears. One word: responsibility. Kings take responsibility. When something goes wrong in your life, what's your first reaction? Do you look for someone to blame, or do you look for a solution? Do you say, this always happens to me? Or do you ask, what can I learn from this? Your response in those moments reveals whether you're thinking like royalty or thinking like a servant. Let me tell you about wealth. Not just money, but true wealth. A servant sees money as something they trade their time for. A king sees money as a tool they use to buy back their time. That's why servants will always complain about not having enough time, while kings create systems that multiply their time. You're sitting there thinking about your bills, your debts, your financial struggles. But have you ever stopped to think that maybe, just maybe, your financial situation is a direct reflection of how you view yourself? A servant mentality will always produce servant-level results. Kings and something that servants will never grasp. Your income is directly proportional to the problems you solve and the value you create. Servants ask, how much does the job pay? Kings ask, what problems can I solve? But let's talk about something even more fundamental than money. Let's talk about your daily habits. Show me your habits, and I'll show you your future. Show me how you spend your free time, and I'll show you where you'll be in 5 years. A servant hits the snooze button 5 times every morning because they dread their day. A king jumps out of bed because they can't wait to continue building their legacy. A servant watches TV for hours because they need to escape their reality. A king reads books because they're constantly preparing for greater opportunities. You say you want success, but your habits say you want comfort. You say you want freedom, but your actions say you want security. You say you want to lead. It's a truth that might sting. Your current life is an advertisement for your dominant thoughts. What are your results advertising about your thinking? Some of you are nodding your heads, but you're thinking, this sounds good, but my situation is different. You don't understand my circumstances. Let me be clear. Circumstances don't make a king. They reveal one. A king doesn't need perfect circumstances to rule their life. They create better circumstances through their decisions. Think about the most successful people you know. Did they wait for perfect circumstances? Did they wait for someone to hand them an opportunity? No. They created circumstances that matched their vision. They understood that if you want to live like royalty, you must first think like royalty. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think being a king is about having power over others. No. Being a king is about having power over yourself. It's about ruling your emotions instead of letting them rule you. It's about commanding your time instead of letting others waste it. It's about directing your energy toward your goals instead of toward distractions. When was the last time you made a decision that stretched you? When was the last time you invested in yourself without needing anyone's approval? When was the last time you chose growth over comfort? Your answers reveal whether you're living with a crown or living with chains. That's something profound with you. The distance between where you are and where you want to be is not measured in miles or years. It's measured in decisions. Every decision you make is either moving you toward your throne or toward your prison cell. When you choose to scroll through social media instead of working on your goals, that's a decision. When you choose to hang around people who drag you down instead of those who lift you up, that's a decision. When you choose to play it safe instead of playing to win, that's a decision. But here's the beautiful thing about decisions. You can make a new one right now. You can decide in this moment that you're done living below your potential. You can decide right now that you're done making excuses. You can decide in this second that from this day forward, you will think, act, and live like the royalty you were born to be. Stop asking for permission to be great. Stop waiting for someone to discover your talents. Stop hoping for your turn to come. Kings don't wait for turns. They create opportunities. Queens don't ask for permission. Your life is not a democracy where you need others' votes to move forward. Your life is a kingdom and you are the ruling monarch. Start acting like it. Will you wake up as a servant, letting life happen to you? Or will you wake up as a king, making life happen for you? Will you continue to live by default? Let me tell you about the most devastating disease plaguing our society today. It's not what you think. It's not cancer. It's not heart disease. It's something far more insidious. It's disease of settling. Not settling for less than what you're capable of. Settling for relationships that drain you. Settling for a job that kills your spirit. Settling for a life that's comfortable but empty. You know what's interesting about comfort? It's a slow killer of dreams. It's like a warm bath. Feels good at first, but stay in it too long and you'll drown. That comfort you're so afraid to leave, that's not your friend. That's your prison guard. Your servant celebrates reaching the shore. A king sets sail for new horizons. A servant is grateful for a steady paycheck. A king is grateful for the opportunity to create value. A servant asks, what's the minimum I need to do? A king asks, what's the maximum after I can make? Some of you are living with a servant's gratitude instead of a king's vision. Don't misunderstand me. Gratitude is essential. But there's a difference between being grateful and being complacent. You can be grateful for what you have while still hungering for what you're capable of achieving. Let's talk about fear for a moment. Fear is not your enemy. Misunderstanding fear is. When you feel fear, that's not a signal to retreat. That's not a sign to stay small. That's your internal compass pointing toward your next level of growth. Kings and queens don't absence of fear. They feed the fear and move forward anyway. They understand that fear is the tax you pay on the road to greatness. The servant says, I'm afraid, so I'll stay here. The king says, I'm afraid, which means I'm about to grow. Your fear of failure isn't protecting you, it's robbing you. Your fear of judgment isn't keeping you safe, it's keeping you small. Your fear of the unknown isn't preserving your peace. But here's what's really keeping you stuck. You're more afraid of your power than you are of your pain. You're more terrified of your potential than you are of your problems. You're more frightened of your greatness than you are of your mediocrity. Think about that for a moment. You're not just afraid of failing, you're afraid of succeeding beyond your wildest dreams. Because if you succeed, everything changes. If you step into your power, you can't go back to playing small. If you claim your crown, you can't go back to living like a servant. Let me tell you something that might shock you. Your biggest problem isn't that you aim too high and miss. Your biggest problem is that you aim too low and hit. You're not dreaming too big and failing. You're dreaming too small and succeeding. A servant sets goals based on their current capabilities. A king sets goals based on their potential. A servant asks, what can I do with what I have? A king asks, what do I need to become to achieve what I want? Your current capabilities are not your destiny. They're just your starting point. Your current network is not your limit. It's just your foundation. Your current knowledge is not your ceiling. Stop looking at where you are, start looking at where you could be. Stop focusing on what you lack and start focusing on what you can create. Stop waiting for the perfect moment and start making every moment perfect. You want to know the real difference between a king and a servant. A king understands that life is their responsibility, not their circumstances, not their past. Every morning when you wake up, you have a kingdom to rule. Your mind, your time, your energy, your talents, your relationships, your resources. How are you ruling these domains? Are you ruling them with vision and purpose, or are you letting them rule you? When you walk into a room, do you bring energy or do you drain it? When you face a challenge, do you rise to meet it or retreat to avoid it? When opportunity knocks, do you answer with confidence or hide in hesitation? Your answers to these questions reveal whether you're living from a throne or living from your knees. There's something powerful with you. Everything in your life right now is either growing or dying. Your relationships are either deepening or deteriorating. Your skills are either expanding or eroding. Your dreams are either advancing or retreating. No neutral ground. There's no standing still. You're either stepping up or stepping back. You're either claiming your crown or surrendering it. That's the beautiful truth. Every moment is a new opportunity to reclaim your throne. Every second is a fresh chance to start ruling your life instead of serving your fears. Every breath is another opportunity to decide, will I live like a king or will I die like a servant? The choice, as it has always been, is yours. But remember this, while you're deciding whether or not to step into your power, time is passing. While you're wondering whether or not you're ready to claim your crown, opportunities are passing. Well, you're waiting for someone to give you permission to be great. Your life is passing. Don't let another day pass living beneath your royal heritage. Don't let another moment slip by settling for less than what you were created to be. Don't let another second tick away. You're wondering if it's too late. You're questioning if you've made too many mistakes. You're doubting if you can really change your life at this point. Let me be clear. The only expiration date on your dreams is the one you put there. Your past is not your potential. Your history is not your destiny. Your previous choices are not your future decisions. The question isn't whether you can. The question is whether you will. Let me share something profound with you about transformation. Real change kind that turns servants into kings doesn't happen in the future. It happens in moments of decision. In moments exactly like this one. A servant says, I'll start tomorrow. A king says, my new life begins in this moment. A servant says, I need more time to prepare. A king says, I'll prepare as I go. A servant says, what if it doesn't work out? A king says, I'll make it work. Your excuses sound reasonable. They sound logical. They sound responsible. But let me tell you what they really are. They're the bars of your self-made prison. Every time you say, I can't, you're laying another brick in the wall that separates you from your destiny. You've been taught to be realistic. But who defines what's realistic? The same people who said humans couldn't fly. The same people who said we couldn't cure diseases that once decimated populations. Being realistic is the fastest road to mediocrity. Kings don't live in the realm of what's realistic. They live in the realm of what's possible. They don't accept the world as it is. They envision the world as it could be. Let's get practical for a moment. How does a king actually live? What separates royal behavior from servant behavior in the real world? A king guards their time like it's the crown jewels, because it is. They don't give away their precious hours to people and activities that don't align with their vision. They don't sacrifice their morning routine to social media. They don't waste their evening hours on mindless entertainment. A king protects their energy like it's royal treasure, because it is. They don't give their power away to toxic relationships. They don't drain their strength on petty dramas. They don't deplete their resources on things that don't matter. A king invests in their mind like it's a kingdom, because it is. They feed their intellect with knowledge that expands their understanding. They seek wisdom that challenges their thinking. They pursue insights that elevate their perspective. But most importantly, a king serves with excellence. Yes, you heard me right. Kings serve. But there's a fundamental difference between how a king serves and how a servant serves. A servant serves out of obligation. A king serves out of purpose. When you're operating in your purpose, serving others isn't degrading, it's elevating. It's not weakening, it's empowering. It's not draining, it's fulfilling. Because true royalty understands that their crown is not for their glory. Every person you meet is an opportunity to demonstrate your royal character. Every task you perform is a chance to display your royal standards. Every challenge you face is an invitation to exercise your royal authority. But here's where many people get stuck. They're waiting to feel like royalty before they act like royalty. They're waiting to have the crown before they develop the character. They're waiting to sit on the throne before they accept the responsibility. Let me tell you that changed your life. You don't become a king by wearing a crown. You become a king by developing a royal mindset. You don't become a queen by sitting on a throne. You become a queen by cultivating royal character. Your position doesn't make you royal. Your decisions do. Your circumstances don't make you royal. Your responses do. Your background doesn't make you royal. Your behavior does. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you're acting like royalty. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you're thinking like royalty. Every time you choose excellence over mediocrity, you're living like royalty. But let's be honest, this path isn't easy. If it were easy, everyone would be living like kings and queens. The road to royalty is paved with challenges, obstacles, and tests. You encounter resistance. You'll meet people who want you to stay small. Remember this. Opposition doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It often means you're doing something right. Resistance doesn't mean you should stop. It means you're growing stronger. Critics don't determine your value. They reveal their own limitations. A servant sees obstacles and retreats. A king sees obstacles and strategizes. A servant sees problems and complains. A king sees problems and creates solutions. A servant sees challenges and gives up. A king sees challenges and levels up. Your life is calling you to a higher level. Your destiny is beckoning you to a greater purpose. Your potential is crying out for expression. But the question remains, will you continue to live as a servant to your fears? Or will you rise up and rule as the king or queen you were created to be? Will you keep accepting the crumbs that fall from life's table? Or will you take your rightful place at the feast? Some of you are thinking, well, what if I try and fail? Let me ask you something more important. What if you don't try and succeed at being mediocre? What if you play it safe and excel at being average? What if you avoid risk and become outstanding at being ordinary? Isn't that a greater failure than trying and falling short? Isn't that a bigger tragedy than reaching and missing? Isn't that a more painful regret than daring and stumbling? Or someone fears failure because they see it as the end. A king embraces failure because they see it as education. A servant avoids mistakes because they see them as final. A king learns from mistakes because they see them as fundamental. Your royal identity isn't something you need to create. It's something you need to uncover. It's not something you need to achieve. It's something you need to accept. It's not something you need to embrace. The throne of your life isn't vacant. It's either occupied by your fear or your faith. It's either ruled by your doubts or your determination. It's either governed by your past or your potential. Every day, you're writing your life story. Every decision, every action, every response is a sentence in that story. What story are you writing? Is it a story of a servant who played it safe or a king who played to win? Is it a story of someone who lived in fear or someone who led with faith? Is it a story of a person who settled for less or one who strived for more? The power to change your story isn't in your circumstances. It's in your choices. The ability to transform your life isn't in your conditions. It's in your decisions. The capacity to rule your destiny isn't in your situation. Stop waiting for permission to be powerful. Stop asking for approval to be amazing. Stop seeking validation to be valuable. Your worth isn't determined by others' opinions. It's determined by your own vision. A servant looks in the mirror and sees their limitations. A king looks in the mirror and sees their potential. A servant looks at their past and sees their failures. A king looks at their past and sees their lessons. A servant looks at the future and sees their fears. A king looks at the future and sees their possibilities. Your royal nature isn't something you become. It's something you remember. Your greatness isn't something you acquire. It's something you activate. Your power isn't something you get. Every morning when you wake up, you have a choice to make. Will you wake up as a servant, bound by your limitations? Or will you wake up as a king, bound for your destiny? Or will you rise to rule your life? The main crown is there. The throne is waiting. The kingdom is ready. But you must make the decision to rule. You must make the choice to lead. You must make the commitment to lead. Don't leave here today the same way you came. Don't walk out of these doors with the same mindset you walked in with. Don't continue living with the same limitations you've accepted until now. Make the decision right now. From this moment forward, you will think like royalty. From this second onward, you will act like royalty. From this breath forward, you will live like royalty. And no more excuses, no more delays, no more playing small, no more settling for less, no more living beneath your potential. Your time is now. Your moment is here. Your reign begins today. Stand up, step up, rise up, take your crown. Because you were never meant to be a servant to your circumstances. You were never designed to be a slave to your fears. You were never created to be subject to your limitations. You were born to rule. You were created to reign. So let today be the day you stop asking for permission and start giving yourself authorization. Let this be the moment you stop waiting for opportunity and start creating possibility. Let this be the time you stop serving your fears and start ruling your destiny. The choice is yours. The power is yours. The throne is yours. Will you take it? Will you rule? Will you live? Your kingdom awaits. Your decision